Okay, well, welcome to our live Q&A about Japan. So I'm going to introduce Maddy. Maddy, would you mind sharing with us where you were, how long you were there, and anything else you'd want to share?
So I studied abroad to Nagoya for 10 months I guess I left last fall, I guess August, so that's summer, but yeah.
Great. Jasmine, do you want to go ahead and start with your questions for Maddy? And then I've got other questions that we can ask her as well.
So one of my questions for Maddy is, did you have a phone while you were in Japan? If so, did you have a phone plan for while you were in Japan? So you could contact your host family while you're in Japan.
Yeah, so most phones come locked in America, but I had an iPhone 6 for like 3 years, which meant that my phone was no longer locked, which means I could put in a SIM card. Either I could buy a SIM card in Japan and buy a plan in Japan, or what I did was I found a place. If I can find where I bought it, I might send it to Greenheart, but they sold plans that were specific for people either going to study or teach in Japan. Especially if you're a student, you get a discount. So I think it was only like $25 a month, and you got unlimited data. It was like 7 gigabytes of 4G, but then afterwards it would be 3G. I never used 7 gigabytes, and I was completely fine. And then in Japan, they use Line a lot, which is, a texting app. So just with, data, you could get away with pretty much everything. And then I also had texting and phone just for emergencies, so I could receive a phone call or a text for free, but if I sent a text or started a phone call, I'd have to pay extra.
Maddy, I actually have a question for that. Did a lot of other exchange students that you knew or other people, did they just use the pocket Wi-Fi as well?
So the people from Asia, so the 2 girls that came from Taiwan when I was there for the orientation, they had pocket Wi-Fi. So when I first got there, I had a problem with my phone. It wasn't actually unlocked. So I couldn't really use my phone for the first few days, and so I had to I borrowed their pocket Wi-Fi to call my parents, and then they called, Verizon, because that's what I have here, and they had no idea why I couldn't use it, why I was saying my phone was still locked. So I was able to use my Verizon data for free until they figured out what's wrong.
Oh, good.
But you can't buy a SIM card in Japan until you have your residence card. So, if you're going for a short amount of time and you don't receive that residence card, I don't know if you can buy a data plan there.
But the one that you got, you said it was like a prepaid, or you had to get your residence card first before you got your plan?
I bought it in America, so it was especially made for students and teachers. So, and I think there might be another SIM card in addition to the one that I had bought that you can get ordered to the airport that you arrive in. But the one I bought, it shipped it to your house in America before you even went, and then you would bring it and switch it out.
Oh, that's cool. Our summer camp students over the summer, it's literally called Japan Wireless, like pocket Wi-Fi, and that's what they use, and they really like it. But I guess if you're going for longer, it seems like it would make more sense to get something.
Yes, especially because it's only like $25 a month. Pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Might be more like 30, but it wasn't expensive at all.
Do you have another question, Jasmine?
Yes. So how much were you able to contact your family while you were in Japan? Like, at least how many times in a week or a month?
So I'm not really the type that needs to contact their family. I don't think I was homesick at all, which is kind of terrible. But I had a group chat online with my family, so we would text, money I would talk about or something specific. I have a twin brother, so we would text insults to each other. And then, on my birthday and stuff, I was able to call. I don't think I ever called unless I had a specific purpose, like I needed to talk about money, or I needed to talk, or it was Christmas, or around Christmas, or around my birthday, or around, I think Thanksgiving I called.
So on major holidays, you were able to contact them?
Yeah, so there is for me on the East Coast, there's a 13-hour time difference. So it is when it's night here, it's morning there, and vice versa. So you have to consider that difference, but it's not hard to call. You can wake up Sunday morning and call your family because it'll be Saturday night there.
My family, my parents live on Guam, so it's only an hour difference.
Well, actually, do you mind if I step in there and ask Maddy, like what recommendations would you have for her to like right away start to feel comfortable wherever she's at?
For me, food was kind of an issue when I first got there. Of course, I actually was sick, so like I actually was like actively vomiting like all the time when I first got there. So that was kind of terrible, but you know, if you're just okay with eating like literally anything, it's easy to get used to. You know, if you use chopsticks, it's easier to get used to. And then I guess with your host family, it really depends on what your host family is like. And I think it's actually like how comfortable you feel immediately depends on your host family. If they're treating you special, like it might be harder to adjust, but if they are treating you like, you know, a member of their family and they're, you know, they take you over, like my host family picked me up, brought me over, and then they immediately like sent me up to my room to like, you know, get my stuff together, and my host sister came with me, and then they started immediately watching TV. And like, you know, through dinner they watched TV too. So it was very much like, you know, they encouraged me to like sit on the couch and stuff. They weren't making me take like the first bath or anything. So yeah, I would just, you know, maybe even ask your host family if you see them like treating you special, ask them maybe not to.
That's a really interesting thing you bring up, because I think sometimes people are like, well, I'm just here and like it should be a big deal that I'm here and like, you know, change. I mean, I had that perception when I went abroad, I remember, but it's a really good point that you bring up that actually it's better for you if you're just like one of the other members of the family.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead with your other question. Sorry to interrupt.
So how much money did you spend while you were in Japan per month? And like, did you have a credit card or did you just use cash, or what type of system did you have for your money?
So I had a hard time keeping track of how much money I spent. I probably spent between like $150 and $300. Now, granted, my host family was very nice, and when we went out to eat, they paid for me. So I guess like some reason like I spent a bit less. And then if I ever went on trips, you have to cover like hotel costs and food costs. So I would pay extra money for that. But in general, I probably spent $200. And I had actually advised against buying too much stuff while you're there. I ended up buying too much stuff and having to ship stuff back. And one of my boxes was robbed from, and I lost like $800 worth of stuff I had bought.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I have insurance for it. I haven't gotten my insurance money back, but I would warn against that. Just be aware, especially like U.S. Customs will search everything you send. If you have something like really packed neatly, like I had a box full of books and they opened it and I got it in a different box, just completely like everything like thrown into it haphazardly. So I would say to like pay attention to how much you're buying, because there is that risk. As for how I got money, I've had a children's bank account since I was like 5, and my mom would put, you know, money for like getting all A's and stuff inside of it. And so when I went, I probably had about $1,000 saved up. So that was my money, and we switched it over from a children's account to a full account so that I had a debit card, so I could draw money from that debit card. And then in addition to that, my mom gave me a credit card. It's tied to my own bank account, but she's the one that covers like the money that I spend on it. Because, you know, sometimes like if you're buying stuff online, you can't use a debit card, you have to use a credit card. So I had both of those. And then in general in Japan, there are more stuff that you need to buy with actual cash and not credit cards or debit cards. So I would suggest always having like $100 or $200 worth of American money. So that's like 10,000, 20,000 yen on you at all times. I guess not at school. I would suggest actually leaving like that much money at home. But, you know, bring like a few dollars, like maybe like 20.
And I want to ask another question. What did you spend most of your spending money on? Like, was it entertainment or like movies or games, or what was it?
All over the place. I spent a lot of money on like goods for like games I liked and games. Like I bought so many pins, it's ridiculous. I guess I also spent a lot of money on the vending machines at my school, only because my school had like a great array of vending machines. Like they probably had like 10 different drink machines. They sold like every drink you could imagine. It was amazing. And then they had like 2 that had like bread, like pastries that were sold, and then 2 that were cup noodles. I ended up spending so much money just buying like food during lunch. But yeah, those are probably the main 2 things.
What's
And
the
then
best drink you had? Or your favorite drink from school?
my favorite drink was milk tea.
Ooh.
If you have like, like bubble tea here, it's the same like if you get the regular milk tea, it's like basically that without, the boba in it.
Well, I have a question. So, how many host families did you have during your time, 10 months in Japan?
I had only one host family, and for host families, it varies a lot depending on the student. I'm not sure this is how it works, but I'm pretty certain that how many host families you have depends on what school you go to. So, I was in Nagoya, so my host family was found through my school, which means I only had one host family, especially because that's how the school decided to do it. If you were in maybe like, I know Kate, who went to Osaka with me, had one host family the entire time. And I'm pretty sure her host family is found through the school as well. But I know the students that were more near Tokyo, where the Japanese program, EIL, is hosted, a lot of their host families were found not through their school, but through the program, which means that they switched families maybe like 3 or 4 times throughout the stay.
And just to give you an idea, also the students who are leaving in the fall, we have a couple of students with only one host family for the year, and then the rest of them have between 2 and 3, and one of our students has 4. And like Maddy said, it just depends on where they're placed.
So, how was your experience going, like being with a host family at first? I know you talked about like them treating you like you were another family member, but like over time, if you had any problems or if did you become like bonded with them?
Yeah, I guess we did become bonded. So I'm in general a shy person. So especially like living in a house, people that I don't really, I never met before was kind of difficult for me. I had a hard time opening up, but my host family was so nice about it. Like they were very nice to me. My host sister went to my high school. So even before I started school, she was like inviting friends to hang out with me that she thought I would get along with. I did not talk to my host brother a lot. He was like 10 years old. But we did play like, Werewolf together, or we played Mario Kart together sometimes. And I guess I never got to the point where I was actively like initiating conversations, but yeah, no, I felt at home there by the end of it.